My name is Dr. Susan Plank. This is Cracking the Blood Sugar Code. And the second part of that is yes, I'm finally losing weight. I am a functional nutritionist. I actually have the business Healthy Weight Over 45 and also the Norwin Wellness Center. So this presentation goal is to show you what's possible for your blood sugar. I just want you to see this is how I do things in my office. This is a 53-year-old woman. She came to me last year for help to help lose some weight. We'll go into this a little bit more in depth a little bit later in the presentation, but I just want you to be able to compare. This was our original blood work here, July 7th, and then it says current, but it was actually September 14th of 2023. So it was two months and a week later, and you can see the changes in blood sugar. So I want you to see what is possible for you no matter where you are. If you're just sort of throwing up your hands, I don't know what to do for my blood sugar anymore, or maybe you don't have necessarily an issue, but you have concerns. I want to let you know that help is possible and it's available. I really truly believe that plans need to be personalized, they need to be easy to follow, and they have to get you results and pretty quickly. Otherwise, you're going to get frustrated, and nobody wants that. So this is the introduction to the blood sugar, and why does blood sugar, why does it really matter? And the reality of it is, it drives our whole body. The blood sugar is energy for every cell in our whole body. So we need a consistent amount of energy. We need the blood sugar to be as consistent as possible. If it gets too high or goes too low, we're going to feel it. And it's also then very hard on our organs, our cells, and also our waistline if blood sugar starts fluctuating, going too high and too low. So our agenda tonight, it's really, this is a guide. I want you to understand the intricacies of blood sugar, why it matters, how it works. What are practical strategies for blood sugar control? I'm going to give you things. I'm going to, and some of them are going to sound a little crazy, but I'm giving you the information that I give my own clients to be able to start changing the blood sugar. As the blood sugar becomes stable, the weight comes off easier than ever. How to keep those lasting changes. And then I'll talk a little bit more, just like the results we just saw, how I do it in a 10-week breakthrough program that I have. And then I absolutely want to make sure I have time for all of your questions. So what is blood sugar? And this is the sort of the layman's term for glucose. So if you get your blood work done maybe once a year, you're going to see on there, it says glucose. It should always be done fasting. If you want to know truly how accurate that is, that blood work should always be done fasting. I try to get folks to do a 12-hour fast. Here's the thing. I want you to drink water ahead of time. You can drink water, but you can't have tea or coffee, or you can't eat anything. But before you go get your blood work done, have a couple of glasses of water. It's going to make the whole process a little bit easier. And it's going to have you feel, if you get a little anxious around getting your blood drawn, it's going to help actually relax you a little bit. But blood sugar is there. We need it to be maintained so we have sufficient energy to be able to do whatever we're going to do. If it's imbalanced, if it goes high and low, this really quickly, which we're going to see, leads to weight gain and fatigue and a lot of other stepping stones to chronic illnesses. So let's go ahead and delve in a little bit deeper into blood sugar control. So I want to take a couple of moments here and let you know who the players are. Who are the players in blood sugar? So we have the food that we're eating. That's one. We have how our body digests it. So if somebody has digestive issues, bloating, right, constipation, that can have an effect on blood sugar. We then have how quickly what we're eating goes into the bloodstream. So when it becomes blood sugar, right, it's just energy, but it becomes sugar, energy in the blood sugar. And then insulin. Insulin is a hormone produced from the pancreas. And then we have the function of time. So those are pretty much 5 factors that we need to look at. If I have someone that comes in or has questions about blood sugar, those are the 5 areas I want to look at. What kind of food are they eating? Okay, number 1. In this, the normal blood sugar response, the person eats, and honestly, it's quick. It's within moments. Digestive system's doing its work. It's turning that food into the energy which goes into our bloodstream known as glucose. The glucose in your bloodstream starts to increase as your body continues, your digestive system continues to break down the food that you've just eaten. It's going to keep going into your bloodstream and increase the glucose in your bloodstream. Within seconds, if not milliseconds, of the blood sugar, that glucose in your bloodstream starting to increase, the pancreas releases insulin. Insulin has to bind to glucose. So in other words, I want you to think of the glucose we know is energy. Every single one of our cells need energy. The problem is the only way the glucose from the blood gets into our cells is by connecting with insulin. So now we're dealing with a molecule of glucose and insulin attached to it. Think of like a lock and key. They have to fit together. And now that complex of glucose and insulin can now cross over the membrane of all the cells. If you have too much glucose, too little glucose, too much insulin, too little insulin, you don't have enough of the proper lock and key, the binding of those two, you're not going to get energy into the cells. And that is a lot of what we start to see when we see imbalances, that folks start to feel one of the first symptoms is tired. Okay. So now we're going to go ahead, and we just did normal. So now abnormal blood sugar response. What we can see, again, the food might tend to be more starchy, bread, pasta, potatoes, the typical sort of American diet. Okay, it's the quality of the food that starts the whole process. That is still digested. It's still turned into blood sugar, the glucose. It goes into the blood. Let me put this out here, though. If someone is drinking their sugar, sodas, big one comes to mind. If they're drinking the sugar, it goes into the bloodstream faster. The digestive system doesn't have to do any work. It's already liquefied. We're now going to see a very quick uptick in glucose, blood sugar into the blood, really rapidly. It was already happening quick. Now it's really quick and really strong. And again, virtually instantaneously, the pancreas is releasing the insulin. But now when we have starchy foods that are going to, again, turn into sugar in the bloodstream, when we have someone drinking sodas, maybe a couple of sodas a couple of times a day, that goes very quickly into the bloodstream. And so now we start to see the blood sugar go up, and the insulin has to keep going up higher because every glucose molecule needs an insulin molecule to bind to it so it can be energy to the cells. Unfortunately, what happens is this tends to be a pattern, or like I said, somebody drinks sugar in their coffee in the morning, and then they have a bite of a donut at mid break, and then they're having a sandwich at lunch, and then they're getting tired, so they have a soda mid afternoon, and maybe, hey, let's go hit the all you can eat buffet. And now the blood sugar is staying high the whole day. The insulin has to stay right along with it. This happens over time. And this is now when we start to see folks get that really fatigued feeling. A lot of glucose, a lot of insulin, none of it's healthy, none of it's combining, and it's just way too much. And the cell membranes just say enough, just enough. And so the other part of that then is now we see sort of the soda involved, is the higher that glucose and the higher the insulin stays, it now turns to fat. It is now stored as fat. And so now we start that whole process of the more frequently this happens, if it happens months, years, it continues to happen. We have the condition of insulin resistance. We have pre-diabetes, ultimately to diabetes. Okay. So now we're kicking in that chronic health issue. They're just getting bombarded with just way too much. All that energy is not getting burned off, as cells can't use it, and so it's being stored as fat. And as that process continues, that fat now becomes very stubborn fat, usually around the belly, and even known as visceral fat, very sort of dangerous organ fat. So we want to be able to recognize early. These symptoms will actually start way before that insulin resistance and that pre-diabetes and diabetes even. We're going to see an increase in thirst. We're going to see fatigue. We're going to see mood changes. Think of the word hangry, right? If you're going to miss a meal, you start to get hungry and angry. Your mood starts to change. Look for this in your kids or your grandkids. You can already start to see, sometimes very early ages now, this mood alteration with an anger and a fatigue at food being delayed or not the best quality of food. Another one I want you to key in on is maybe you're one of those ones at night that, why do I wake up every single night at the same time? Every night I go to bed, this is my night, I'm going to get my good 8 hours of sleep, and it's always at 11 or it's always at 1:30. I have to get up and go to the bathroom. It very well could be one of those underlying factors that your blood sugar could be doing something and usually dropping, and that is enough to disturb you and wake you up. So we need to start to be aware of all of these types of symptoms, and also when they happen, because they might be happening at night and not necessarily in relation to eating or food. So the impact, this really is about lifestyle. We need to be aware of the key factors that can start to unravel these types of conditions of insulin resistance and pre-diabetes and diabetes and just elevated blood sugar, the fatigue. So we need to make sure that you're eating well, right? That half your plate is veggies, right? A quarter of your plate is going to be a lean protein. You're going to have some starch, but it's going to be a very minor segment of the plate. no way would we see you at a, all you can eat, say, pasta buffet or something that would probably put you into a blood sugar coma type of thing. So we want to start to change the food selection. We want to make sure we get in more fiber and lean protein. The two big ones, fiber and lean protein. Exercise, most of my clients, when they come to me, they're not healthy enough. They are not healthy enough to exercise. There's research out, though, new research, that even if you can go for a 10-minute walk, 10-minute walk after dinner, that's enough to start to help your body metabolize that blood sugar and put it into the cells that much faster. And another lifestyle factor that a lot of us just discount in our lives is stress. So we need to be aware of the stressors in our life. We need to have some type of outlet. Is it kickboxing class? Is it a walk with your girlfriends, right? Is it meditation? Is it church and praying? Make it your own. Is it music? Is it what is it? You just need to have something, and you need to be able to do that consistently. So again, we're really looking at building nice habits that are reproducible day after day. So here's some tips, and actually, I'll tell you, if you have your phone close by, please pull out your phone and take a picture. There's this slide, it might be the next slide, but go ahead and take a picture of it. These are what I have found that really tends to work the best with my clients, and I've been doing this now for a lot of years. And so I want you to eat breakfast. So many folks are into the intermittent fasting. And I'm not necessarily against intermittent fasting, but we already have a society, especially women and young women and girls, who think the only way to lose weight and to get healthy is to eat less. My biggest concern with intermittent fasting is it feeds into that mentality. So then we have people skipping breakfast. They're doing what, 12, 15, sometimes 18-hour fast. If you're younger and your body's trying to grow and produce hormones and everything else, reproduce, that's not necessarily very healthy. And as we get older, we actually need to be able to heal. And so the thought that in one or two meals, already knowing how poorly we tend to eat and how low our hydration level is in this country, I'm really just not a fan of intermittent fasting. So eat breakfast every day, eat it by 7 a.m., Saturday and Sunday included. Keep it to a routine, and you must have a protein. You can even have bacon. Bacon is anti-inflammatory, so you can even have 2 slices of bacon. But I want you to eat some type of protein. I want all my clients to get 5 lean proteins a day. So 1 at each meal, and then we're going to strategically put in protein shakes in between the meals, in between breakfast and lunch, in between lunch and dinner. Protein and fiber stabilizes blood sugar. It's not going to let it keep bottoming out when people want to put their head down on their desk after lunch and sort of go to sleep. Protein is a benefit, and you can make that actually, right, a liquid. We talked about sugar is a liquid. Protein is a liquid. It's going to get absorbed faster and help stabilize your blood sugar more. So consider 2 protein shakes a day. Not protein bars, folks. Again, I'm not a fan of protein bars. You have to look at the labels on these things. Most of the time, the protein bars have as much sugar as protein, if not twice as much sugar as what protein they're putting in a bar. So stay away from protein bars. Do yourself a favor. Again, high fiber vegetables every meal, even breakfast. A lot of my clients will end up eating what they had for dinner the night before. They'll end up having it for breakfast. So lean protein, vegetables, broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, asparagus, crunch. We want crunch. If you're going to snack, and everybody likes to snack, one piece of fruit a day, an apple or a pear, because they're going to have some sugar, but they're also going to have a nice amount of fiber as well. Or you can look at around 50 pistachios. Most of the, and this is what I do. So it's usually right around 50 pistachios, a good amount to get the fiber, not too fatty. And so that's great. No juice whatsoever. Do yourself a favor, really cut back on the bananas. Bananas taste great in those shakes, but the average banana has about 14 grams of sugar. So how long does it take to eat a banana? It doesn't have any protein to it, very little. It doesn't have any fiber to it. So it is going to be really pretty quick in sugar. Here we're coming up to a holiday weekend. You're going to want to limit carrots and beets. They are starchy vegetables. Therefore, they don't, if something is starchy, it doesn't have a lot of fiber to it. It might not look on the label that it's high in sugar, but it will be one of those vegetables that your digestive system can break down quicker because it doesn't have the fiber, which means it's going to have a much greater impact on your blood sugar. Okay. And again, no citrus or breads. Okay. We need to get the diet clean. I want people to really get the sense of how quickly they can start to turn their blood sugar around. So again, I use these with my own clients, and especially those that are coming in and we get bad results from their blood work pretty quickly. So obviously, there's a great value in monitoring your blood sugar. It's a way to take charge of your health. It's pretty easy to get done regularly, and is going to actually get easier. I'll tell you about that in a second. But again, this slide, you might want to take a picture of this slide. These are important blood sugar markers. So the fasting glucose we talked about. That's on your sort of routine blood work you're getting done. Hemoglobin A1C is not going to be routine. Your doctor is most likely not going to want to order it unless you are diabetic or they really suspect that you're diabetic. Insulin and the insulin resistance score, again, I rarely see these ordered from docs, rarely. Fructosamine, again, it helps with blood sugar, but you're rarely going to see that ordered. And the CGM stands for continuous glucose monitor. These up until now have been, you had to have a prescription to have one. But I want to say it's Dexcom is coming out. They got permission to have a home continuous glucose monitor. And that is going to be coming out later this summer. So there's most of these are blood work. Okay. This last one is going to be something soon in the next few months that you will be able to have at your disposal at home. So you have an idea of what these are, the importance of these markers, the fasting glucose. Even though you're told to fast maybe 8 to 12 hours before you have that blood sugar, that test done for that fasting glucose, this fasting glucose, the blood test is going to reveal what you sort of ate, the sugar involved in what you ate, usually over the last 3 days. Most likely, you're not going to want to go get your blood work done on a Monday morning, even though it's fasting. If you went out for pizza and beer after work on Friday night, and then Saturday, you went to that buffet, or again, hung out and watched some games and burgers and fries and stuff like that. Sunday, maybe you had a birthday party to go to, and but you had a piece of birthday cake and ice cream at noon on Sunday. all of that is going to be reflected in your glucose level. Okay, so if your glucose ends up higher than what you really suspect, and you think back and say, well, wow, I really did, 3 days before that, I sort of did these different things. That's where I want you to be more informed of when you get these tests done, how to know how to get them done accurately. If having a week end like that is just so unusual for you, but it just happened, then you're going to want to push that blood work right to Wednesday or Thursday morning, or maybe even Friday. So during the week, you have much more realistic of how you're eating, because most folks, when they're trying to lose weight or trying to control their blood sugar, they're doing everything they can. They're just not getting the results they want. And it's sort of driving them crazy of what the heck's going on. Hemoglobin A1C, again, a blood test. It is your blood sugar over an average over the last 3 months. Again, I order a majority of these in my office. I order a majority of them on all the new clients I have, because I want to see what's the short-term blood sugar, what's the long-term blood sugar, what's going on. Was it a one-off, right? A bad weekend or bad couple of days, or is the blood sugar over time, that hemoglobin A1C, actually increasing? Number 3, fructosamine. This used to be used as sort of a monitoring for people that were already diabetic. I like to use it so we can see, because again, it's a blood test. We can see this is now for 3 weeks, about 3 weeks. So we have 3 days, 3 months, 3 weeks. So in other words, if I have somebody that is really struggling with their blood sugar, and maybe there are folks that just sort of, I call them grazers, how they like to eat sort of continuously the whole day, or they're really drawn to more of those starchy vegetables, squashes and beets and carrots and things like that, versus the more fibrous broccoli and asparagus. I will order this fructosamine on them, because it lets us, once I implement an eating plan for them, it lets us see how they're doing with that. Do we have to increase the fiber more? Do we have to give them more protein? What do we need to do with the diet? So I can use these tests to fine tune and make the plan really, really personalized for the individual. And that's exactly what I'm doing. The optional ones, again, the CGM, which is going to be coming out later this summer. The insulin, again, the insulin is going to tend to go the way that the glucose level goes. It is, though, very, very important if you're a woman that is really struggling with monthly cycle issues. If you maybe are, PCOS or endometriosis, something like that has sort of been thrown out as a diagnosis possibly for you, I would highly recommend that we get an insulin or an insulin resistance score done on you, because PCOS, polycystic ovary syndrome, and insulin resistance almost go hand in hand, also inflammation. So that is really a triad of conditions we see with PCOS. Okay, why do I crave sugar? What the heck is going on? I wake up in the morning and I say, I'm not going to eat it. That's it. I'm done. I don't want any more candy. I'm getting the candy off my desk. I'm just not going to eat it. What's going on that I just can't stop? Before I know it, I've just popped something into my mouth. And, now with Easter, and we got those little sugar squishy peeps, and right, we've got chocolate bunnies, and what's going on, right? So there's multiple things that can be going on. One is you've potentially eaten more sugar. And here's the other thing. Quite frequently, people come to me and say, I don't know what the deal is. I gave up sugar. I don't eat any sugar. They might even be vegan or vegetarian. I don't eat sugar, but they can't stop. They always have these cravings. It's usually the amount of starches that they're eating, and it's unknowingly. It's not an intentional thing. They just unknowingly don't realize that the foods, the healthy foods that they're eating is enough starch that it's turning into sugar in their body, right? It doesn't have as much fiber as they need, or it doesn't have as much protein, what they're eating, and therefore it's turning to sugar. The blood sugar fluctuations throughout the day, like I said, the cells and the cell membrane start to become a little resistant, right? That insulin resistance. So the cell membranes are getting unhealthy and it starts to become resistant to the blood sugar and the insulin. So the person starts to get tired, it just bounces off. Really, these cell membranes are just sort of so bombarded with these high levels of blood sugar and insulin that even when you try to pull it down, it just wants to bounce off. So it keeps you craving sugar because your cells want the energy, but the mechanism, the cell membranes won't let the energy in, right? Stress. So I'm not realizing how much stress that you're actually under. That is, we have emotional stress. And so I'm talking about more than just emotional stress. You might not feel emotionally stressed, but if you have physical ailments, you have financial problems, you have physical things going on. Now we're dealing with a physical stress, which is still you're going to want comfort. And sugar, to the basis of behavior, sugar is comfort. It kicks in dopamine in our brain, which is a feel good neurotransmitter. And so stress and sugar are very intricately intertwined. Okay. And lastly, one that a lot of folks sort of bypass or don't even think of, parasitic yeast infection. If you're prone to vaginal yeast infections, guys, if you have jock itch or athlete's foot, or you have these unknown rashes sort of all over your body, or eye and ear irritations, mucous membranes, a white tongue, these are all signs of yeast infection inside that's permeating outside. And those yeast love sugar. They're very lazy critters, and they just want you to eat sugar so they can just kick back there in your gut. And here it comes by, and they're just going to love life. They're just going to love it. Okay. So how do you stop then? If you eat these things, how do you stop? First of all, we have to try to figure out what's going on. But we have 5 things that we must do. So we have to change the diet. We have to. We have to remove the grains because some folks are so sensitive now to the carbohydrates, right? The carbohydrates, it breaks down. Carbohydrates can have sugar in them, they can have fiber in them, or they can just be starches. Okay. We want to take out as much starch as we can. We want to definitely remove things that are going into sugar, but so we need to change the diet. Again, 5 lean proteins a day. Again, the high fiber veggies, got to do it. What I just touched on, lowering the starches. We're not going to stop them completely because it is an energy source, but they can't be the primary energy source, or they can't take place of the fiber and the protein. And again, start walking. Grab your sweetie, and 10 minutes after you eat dinner, you're walking 10 minutes after you eat dinner every night. You got to make these things habits. Okay. All right, so back to this. I showed you this in the beginning. So again, this woman did not realize when she came to me to help lose weight. We did the blood work, and it's one of those ones. So in July of last year, these readings, a glucose of 133, a hemoglobin A1C of 6.7, she was diabetic. She had no idea. She didn't tell me that she was diabetic. We did the blood work. I talked to her. And again, I work remotely with folks. She was crying. She started to cry on the phone. So I hate those. I hate when these happen. And I hate when I have to tell somebody bad news. But the good part, if there is a good part of it, it can be very motivating. Is what happened in her case. She just didn't feel good. She'd go to her doctor. She kept getting sort of blown off, or they'd say, well, what's your blood sugar? But they didn't do anything else. Watch what you're eating. But what does that mean? So put her on an eating plan, right? And you can see how quickly she has been a rock star. of wanting to take back control of her life and feeling empowered. Okay. So you can see those changes. So from a 133 to an 86, from a 6.7 to a 5.7, it's in red because she was that's still pre-diabetic at 5.6. It would have been completely reversed. So, and this is, I work with folks with smart scales. So each day they weigh themselves as I sort of track what's going on. And we can see over that time when I started working with her, so from July, and it was, I think, September, right? September 14th, we said. So she had lost over 20 pounds in that amount of time. And overall, in the initial time that we worked together, she had lost 34 pounds. I'll tell you, a big part of it for her was blood sugar, was what she was eating to rein that in. It is very, very unusual or rare for weight loss to be only one factor. Can it be? Yes. But in the clients I see, they usually have a couple of different factors, but blood sugar is one we're going to jump on really, really quick because it's just sort of so profound. As you can see, that where her goal is here in the blue, and the red is her daily weigh-ins, her reading. So excellent, excellent results. Again, clients Karen and Jim, great, great couple. They came to me in April of 2023. Hey, we want to lose weight. Karen, 62 years old. Her parents were both diabetic. Her blood sugar had been increasing over time. Year after year, she'd get her blood work done. Her glucose level, fasting glucose, she noticed each year it would get higher. She talked to her doctor multiple times. Oh, well, it's okay. It's okay. We're not going to worry, or we don't worry about it until when you become diabetic. And that's what I tell folks. No, we got to worry about it before you're diabetic. We want to be able to reverse things a lot easier. We don't want to, but that she was looking for something a little bit different. So again, her goal was this blue line where she started off. And so her goal was to lose 20 pounds to start. She thought she'd be thrilled if she could get down there to close to 170. And boy, she just kept going. So again, we look at blood sugar, but we also look at hormones and a lot of other factors, inflammation, the thyroid, how things are working, stress hormones, and so we were able, as we looked at the blood sugar, to keep going. And so she ended up losing 15 more pounds, which is fantastic. But the other part I want you guys to realize is not only was she able to get to her goal and surpass her goal, but here we are now into 2024, and she's kept the weight off the entire time. Okay, the entire time. So same thing, Jim, her husband, he's 68 years old. He was just sort of feeling tired, right? He was gaining weight. He just did not feel well. He just didn't feel well. And he thought, my goodness, if I don't feel good at 68 and there's all these things I want to do, what am I going to feel like in 5 or 10 years? So he and Karen, again, husband and wife, he was started off right there about 270. He wanted to lose, if I can lose 15 pounds, right? If I can lose 15 pounds, I'll be great. Well, again, he lost 30 and then has been able to keep it off as well. So, and there they are. This is actually up until when I put this presentation together. This is up until yesterday morning. So you can see that each one of them has, Jim refused to put down a goal because he thought he'd jinx himself. And then he was just thrilled that he's been able to keep it off. So, part of it is the weight. But for Karen, I got to say, it was really the fear that she was having, that time was passing by, and looking at her blood work year to year, seeing those numbers increase, knowing that her parents were both diabetic. It was just it was just so frustrating, and she felt so just sort of out of control that all the signs were there, but she couldn't get help. So great couple. You can just see the transformations though through the chest, through the chins, the waistlines. So they feel so much better. They look fantastic, and boy, are they their energy has just been through the roof. So again, this is if we're looking at weight, we need to look at, just like if we're looking at blood sugar, there's these other issues, right? There's the diet, there's what's the digestive system doing, what the stress levels, is there any activity? And if we're looking at weight, it's the same thing. All our eggs can't go in the Easter pun. All our eggs can't go in the blood sugar basket, right? We have to look at toxins and balanced hormones. And did somebody use birth control? And was there emotional trauma and inflammation and poor eating? What is the health of the cell? So all the weight that someone is carrying around is usually reflective of earlier life events, things that happened to them earlier in life. So when we get to mid age, right, we tend to have all these different things going on health wise, emotionally, physically. Yes, we want to start with the blood sugar. We want to get somebody's cellular health and hormones balanced. So we're looking at diet and knocking out inflammation and cleaning up those cell membranes, detoxifying the person, getting the cells healthier, making sure nutritionally that we're strong, that we're not having nutritional deficiencies. And when we start to put all these pieces in place and do them methodically in order, they have to be done in a specific order. Now that weight starts to come off, and it's easier to lose the weight and balance the blood sugar than ever before. So I do offer, it's a 10-week weight loss breakthrough. My next one will be coming up mid-April. We're looking at balancing the blood sugar, having you have more energy, get that nice flat belly that you want, balancing the hormones. Everybody wants a good libido. I hope, right? The confidence that you did it and the ability to just feel good in your own skin, pull those clothes up from the back of the closet, right, and just slip on those jeans. What a great feeling. So here we are, folks. It's the end of the presentation.